Maya Jenkins and her coworker walked into the Vane Gallery on Chicago's Magnificent Mile on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. They wandered through the minimalist showroom, past sculptural installations and avant-garde displays. Then Maya stopped cold in front of the Autumn Sorrow collection. The mannequin in the center wore a simple gray sweatshirt and blue jeans. The face, the features, the slight asymmetry in the curls. It looked exactly like her younger sister, Haley, who'd been missing for 3 months. Maya reached out, touched the mannequin's neck. The texture was wrong, not plastic. Something else underneath. When she tried to examine it closer, security escorted her out. Nobody believed her. Before we continue, thank you for giving this story your time. If you feel like it, feel free to share where you're listening from and what brought you here. It quietly helps us do this work. Now, let me tell you what happened to Haley Jenkins. October 2025. Chicago, Illinois. Haley Jenkins stood in front of the mirror in her college apartment, 21 years old, adjusting her portfolio. Best photos she owned. Headshots from a professional session she'd paid $300 for. Money she'd saved from her campus bookstore job. Tonight was important. The biggest night of her young career. Julian Vane's exclusive casting call at the Chicago Art Institute. Every aspiring model in the Midwest would be there. Industry people, photographers, collectors, real opportunities. Vane was connected. His sculptures were featured in museums worldwide. An invitation from him could change everything. Haley's phone buzzed. Text from her older sister, Maya Jenkins. Good luck tonight. Be smart. Call me when you're done. Haley smiled, texted back. This could be my break. Vane's work is incredible. Could open real doors. Proud of you. Haley pocketed her phone, grabbed her portfolio. Her mother, working the night shift at the hospital. Haley drove to the Art Institute. Arrived at 6:00 the evening. The casting call started at 7. She checked in at the registration desk. Got a name tag. Walked into the gallery hall. That was the last time anyone saw Haley Jenkins alive. The police called her a runaway 3 weeks later. Said the pressure of the industry gets to young girls. Maya Jenkins, a 8-year-old archives librarian, knew better. Her sister wouldn't just disappear. Wouldn't abandon their mother. Wouldn't leave without a word. But 3 months passed with no leads. No body. No proof. Until that Tuesday afternoon in January, when Maya walked past the Vane Gallery and saw her sister's face frozen behind glass. Maya walked into the 4th Precinct on Wednesday morning at 9:15 a.m. 45 minutes after they opened. She'd been awake since 4 a.m. Unable to sleep after seeing the mannequin. She'd spent the night compiling everything she had. Photos of Haley, screenshots of the gallery website showing the Autumn Sorrow collection. A side-by-side comparison she'd made on her laptop, zooming in on the mannequin's facial features and matching them to Haley's senior portrait. The precinct smelled like burnt coffee and cleaning solution. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A desk sergeant, mid-50s with gray stubble and tired eyes, looked up from his computer. "Help you? I need to report new evidence in a missing person case." Maya's voice was steady. She'd practiced this in the car. "My sister, Haley Jenkins. She was reported missing 3 months ago." The sergeant typed slowly, hunting and pecking at the keyboard. "Jenkins, Haley. Yeah, I see it here. Case was closed 2 weeks ago, classified as voluntary departure. It wasn't voluntary. Maya placed her folder on the counter. I have proof she didn't run away. I found her. The sergeant's eyebrows raised slightly. The Vane Gallery on Michigan Avenue. She's been made into a mannequin. Or a sculpture. I don't know what he's calling it. But it's her. It's my sister. The sergeant stared at her for 3 long seconds. Then he picked up the folder, flipped it open. He looked at the photos, the screenshots, the comparison Maya had spent hours creating. Ma'am, this is a mannequin in a store window. It's not just a mannequin. Look at the facial structure. The birthmark on her neck. The exact same asymmetry in Miss Jenkins. The sergeant closed the folder. I understand you're grieving. Losing a loved one, especially when there's no closure, it does things to the mind. You start seeing patterns, connections that aren't there. I'm not making this up. I'm telling you, that mannequin is a piece of art made by a famous sculptor. He pushed the folder back across the counter. Julian Vane is a respected artist. His work is in museums. The man creates hyper-realistic sculptures. That's his whole thing. They're supposed to look like real people. Maya felt her chest tighten. So you're not going to investigate? There's nothing to investigate. Your sister was an adult. She left of her own accord. It happens all the time in the modeling industry. The pressure, the competition, the rejection. Young people think they want that life. Then they realize it's not what they expected. They move on, start over somewhere else. She wouldn't do that. She wouldn't leave our mother. She wouldn't. Ma'am. The sergeant's voice got harder. I'm going to say this as gently as I can. You need to accept that your sister made a choice. Going around accusing prominent citizens of crimes based on artistic coincidence isn't going to bring her back. It's going to get you in trouble. Maya's hands trembled. She pulled the folder back. What if I'm right? You're not. But what if I am? The sergeant leaned forward. Then you'd better have more than a hunch and some photos of a mannequin. Because right now, all you're doing is wasting department time and setting yourself up for a harassment lawsuit. Julian Vane has lawyers, good ones. You really want to go down that road? Maya stood there, feeling the weight of dismissal pressing down on her shoulders. 3 months of police telling her Haley was a runaway. 3 months of being patted on the head and told to wait. 3 months of being treated like a hysterical woman who couldn't accept reality. Detective Miller, she said. I want to speak to Detective Miller. She was assigned to Haley's case. Detective Miller is on leave. Personal matter. Won't be back for another 2 weeks. Then who's covering her cases? Nobody. Cases were redistributed or closed. The sergeant gestured to the folder in Maya's hands. Look, I get it. You want answers. But sometimes there aren't any. Sometimes people just disappear because they want to. That's the truth nobody wants to hear. Maya picked up her folder, turned toward the door, then stopped. When someone reports a missing person, you're supposed to investigate. That's your job. We did investigate. For 3 weeks, no sign of foul play, no evidence of abduction. Your sister withdrew money from her bank account the day she disappeared. She packed a bag. She left her apartment key on the counter. Those aren't the actions of someone who was taken against their will. Or they're the actions of someone who was manipulated into thinking she was going somewhere safe. Maya's voice cracked. She went to a casting call with Julian Vane, and then she vanished. And now there's a mannequin that looks exactly like her in his gallery. How is that not worth investigating? The sergeant's expression softened slightly. Miss Jenkins. Maya. I have a daughter. If she went missing, I'd be doing the same thing you're doing. I'd be seeing her face everywhere. I'd be desperate for answers. But that desperation can make you see things that aren't there. You need to talk to someone. A therapist. A grief counselor. Someone who can help you process this. Maya walked out without another word. She sat in her car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying not to cry. The police wouldn't help. They thought she was delusional, grieving and desperate and unable to accept that Haley chose to leave. But Maya knew her sister, and she knew what she'd seen in that gallery window. If the police wouldn't investigate, she'd have to do it herself. She pulled out her phone and Googled Julian Vane's sculptures, missing persons. Nothing came up except glowing reviews of his work and features in art magazines. She tried Julian Vane controversy. Still nothing. Then she tried something different. Chicago model disappeared 2025. 3 results. Model missing after casting call. 7 results. Fashion industry disappearances, Illinois. 12 results. Maya's heart started beating faster. She wasn't the only one. Maya spent the next 3 days living in the archives at the Harold Washington Library, using her staff access to databases most people didn't know existed. She started with missing person reports filed in Illinois over the past 5 years. Cross-referenced them with modeling agencies, fashion events, and art installations. The work was tedious, methodical, exactly the kind of research she'd been trained to do. By Friday afternoon, she had a list of 17 names. 17 young women, ages 19 to 26, who disappeared after involvement in Chicago's fashion or art scene. 17 cases that had been closed as voluntary departure. Or no evidence of foul play. But the pattern was what made Maya's blood run cold. 12 of the 17 had attended events connected to Julian Vane. Casting calls, private viewings, exclusive opportunities that promised career advancement. And in every case, the young woman had told family or friends she was meeting with Vane, then vanished within 48 hours. Maya printed everything, built a timeline, created a map marking last known locations. Then she started looking for the families. The first forum she found was called Still Searching Chicago, a private Facebook group for families of missing persons. She requested to join, was accepted within an hour. The posts were heartbreaking. Parents sharing flyers. Updates on cases that had gone cold. Desperate pleas for information. Maya posted carefully, looking for families whose daughters disappeared after involvement with Chicago fashion, art industry. Specifically events or opportunities connected to sculptor Julian Vane. Please DM if you're willing to talk. I believe our cases may be connected. She expected to wait days for a response. She got 3 messages within an hour. The first was from Angela Reeves, mother of Brianna Reeves, 22, missing since April 2024. Brianna went to a private showing at Vane's studio. Told me she'd been personally invited. Said it could lead to modeling work with high-end brands. Never came home. Police said she probably moved to New York to pursue her career. But her bank account hasn't been touched in 18 months. Her social media went silent the day she disappeared. I've been trying to get someone to investigate Vane for over a year. Nobody will listen. The second was from Marcus Chen, father of Sophie Chen, 24, missing since September 2023. Sophie was an art student. She was selected for an internship with Julian Vane's studio. Paid position, prestigious opportunity, everything she'd worked toward. She was supposed to start on a Monday. We reported her missing on Wednesday when she didn't come home. Police said she was an adult who made her own choices. Case was closed in 3 weeks. I hired a private investigator who couldn't find anything. But I know something happened to her. I know she didn't just leave. The third was from Carmen Torres, older sister of Isabella Torres, 21, missing since February 2025. Bella went to an invite-only casting call at Vane's gallery. She was so excited. Told me Julian Vane himself had seen her portfolio and requested she come in for a private consultation. That was on a Thursday evening. By Sunday, her apartment was cleared out. Her landlord said someone came with a key and took everything. Police said it proved she'd planned to leave. But Bella would never leave without telling me. We talked every single day. Something happened to her. Maya stared at her screen, hands shaking. 3 families, 3 daughters, 3 identical stories. She created a new message thread, added all 3 contacts. I'm Maya Jenkins. My sister Haley disappeared 3 months ago after a casting call with Julian Vane. The police won't investigate. But I found something. I think I found where they are. She attached photos of the mannequin from the Autumn Sorrow collection, the one that looked like Haley. Angela Reeves responded first. Oh my God. Then Marcus Chen. How is that possible? Carmen Torres. I need to see the gallery, in person, right now. Maya wrote back. We should meet. All of us. Share what we know. If there's a pattern, if there's evidence, we need to document everything before we go to the police again. They dismissed me. Maybe if there are 4 of us, they'll have to listen. Within 20 minutes, they'd agreed to meet at a coffee shop in Logan Square the next morning. Maya sat back in her chair, surrounded by file folders and printouts, feeling something she hadn't felt in 3 months. Not hope, exactly, but purpose. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't delusional. She wasn't a grieving sister seeing patterns that didn't exist. There were others, and together, they were going to find the truth. That night, Maya couldn't sleep again. She lay in bed scrolling through Julian Vane's Instagram account. Photos of his sculptures, always described as hyper-realistic art and the peak of contemporary realism. Comments praising his genius, his technique, his ability to capture humanity in synthetic form. But Maya looked at the faces in those sculptures and felt sick. How many of them had names? How many of them had families searching for them? How many of them were displayed in private collections, museums, galleries around the world, while their mothers cried themselves to sleep at night? She zoomed in on a sculpture from Vane's 2023 Winter Solitude collection. A young woman in a white dress, dark hair, delicate features. Sophie Chen's face stared back at her from the screen. Maya screenshot the image. Added it to her growing file of evidence. Tomorrow, she'd meet the families. Together, they'd build a case the police couldn't ignore. And if the police still wouldn't listen, Maya would find someone who would. Because somewhere in Julian Vane's studio, or his gallery, or his private warehouse, the truth was waiting, and Maya Jenkins was going to drag it into the light. The coffee shop meeting turned into 3 hours of shared grief and mounting evidence. Angela brought a binder 3 inches thick, with police reports, private investigator notes, and timelines. Marcus had financial records showing Sophie's accounts frozen the day she disappeared. Carmen had text messages, the last one from Isabella at 6:47 p.m. "He's amazing, sis. His studio is like a cathedral. I think this is really happening." Maya spread her research across 2 tables they'd pushed together. The map, the timeline, the photos of sculptures that looked too real, too specific, too much like the missing daughters. "We need physical evidence," Marcus said. "The photos aren't enough. The police will say we're seeing what we want to see. We need something concrete. Something they can't dismiss." "We need to get inside his studio," Carmen said, "or his warehouse, wherever he's making these things." Angela shook her head. "That's breaking and entering. We could get arrested, ruin any chance of a real investigation." "There won't be a real investigation unless we force one," Maya said quietly. "We've all tried the legal route. Nobody's listening." That's when Leo Vance walked up to their table. He was tall, early 30s, with dark-rimmed glasses and a canvas messenger bag slung over his shoulder. "I'm sorry to interrupt. I couldn't help overhearing. I'm Leo Vance. I'm an investigative journalist with the Chicago Independent." Maya instinctively gathered the papers closer. "We're having a private conversation. I know who you are." Leo pulled a chair over from an empty table, sat down without being invited. "Maya Jenkins. Your sister Haley disappeared in October. Angela Reeves. Daughter Brianna. Marcus Chen. Daughter Sophie. Carmen Torres. Sister Isabella. I've been tracking the pattern for 8 months." The 4 of them stared at him. "You've been tracking it?" Angela's voice was sharp. "Then why haven't you written anything?" "Because I don't have proof." Leo pulled a laptop from his bag, opened it, turned the screen toward them. "I have 23 cases. Young women who disappeared after contact with Julian Vane. But correlation isn't causation. I need evidence. Physical evidence. Something that proves these mannequins aren't just sculptures." "Why are you telling us this?" Marcus asked. "Because you're planning something. And if you're going to break into Julian Vane's warehouse, you're going to need someone who knows how to document evidence properly. Someone who can make sure whatever you find can't be dismissed or suppressed." Maya studied him. "What makes you think we're breaking into anywhere?" "Because that's what I'd do if the police wouldn't listen, and I knew where my sister was." Leo closed his laptop. "Vane has a storage facility in Pilsen. Industrial district, minimal security, no cameras on the exterior. I've been watching it for 3 months. He moves shipments there every Thursday night. Private collectors, museums, galleries. The sculptures get packed and shipped from that location." Carmen leaned forward. "You've been inside?" "No, that's where I need you. Or rather, where you need me." Leo pulled out his phone, showed them photos of a large warehouse with rolling steel doors. "I can get us in. I have contacts. People who owe me favors. But if we're doing this, we do it right. We document everything. We get samples. We get proof that holds up in court." "This is insane," Angela whispered. "We could all go to jail. Or we could get our daughters back," Maya said. "Even if they're already gone, we could bring them home, give them proper burials. Stop him from doing this to anyone else." Leo looked at each of them. "I need to be clear about something. If we do this, if we find what I think we're going to find, it's going to be bad. Worse than you're imagining. And once we start down this path, there's no turning back. The story will come out. Your families will be in the spotlight. Every detail will be public." "Good," Carmen said. "Let it be public. Let everyone know what he did." Marcus nodded. "When?" "Tonight," Leo said. "He's hosting a gallery opening downtown. His entire staff will be there. The warehouse will be empty. We'll have maybe 3 hours before the event ends and shipments start going out." Maya felt her heart hammering. This was the moment. The line between research and action, between documenting evidence and becoming part of the story. "What do we need to bring?" she asked. Leo smiled, not a happy expression, but one of grim determination. "Just yourselves. I'll handle the rest." They met at 11:30 p.m. in a parking lot 4 blocks from the warehouse. Leo arrived in a black SUV with Illinois press plates. He had backpacks for each of them containing gloves, flashlights, sample bags, and small cameras. "The door will be unlocked," he explained. "My contact will make sure of it. We go in. We split into 2 teams. Maya and I take the east side. You 3 take the west. We're looking for sculptures in storage. Anything that looks like it hasn't been shipped yet. We need samples of the material. Skin, hair, anything we can get tested." "How long do we have?" Angela asked. 90 minutes. Any longer, and we risk the night security patrol." They drove to the warehouse in silence. The industrial district was empty, streetlights casting long shadows between buildings. The warehouse looked exactly like Leo's photos. Gray, corrugated steel. No windows. A single door on the south side. Leo tested the handle. It turned. He looked back at them. Last chance to walk away. No one moved. They went inside. The warehouse was cavernous, lit only by emergency exit signs and the ambient glow from skylights. Rows of crates lined the walls. In the center, a work area with tools, materials, and several large objects covered in white sheets. Maya's hands were shaking as she pulled on the latex gloves. Leo moved to the first covered sculpture, carefully lifted the sheet. A young woman in a summer dress. Blonde hair. Porcelain skin. Eyes that seemed to follow them, even in the dim light. "Jesus Christ," Leo whispered. He pulled out a small sample kit, used a scalpel to scrape a tiny portion of the sculpture's arm. The material came away in flakes. He sealed it in a vial. Maya moved to the next sculpture, pulled back the sheet. Her breath caught in her throat. Haley. Wearing the gray sweatshirt and blue jeans. The autumn sorrow piece she'd seen in the gallery window. But here, up close, she could see details the display glass had hidden, the tiny imperfections in the skin texture. The individual strands of hair, the way Haley's silver H necklace sat against her collarbone. "Maya." Leo's voice was gentle. "We need a sample." Maya's vision blurred. She wiped her eyes roughly. focused. This wasn't grief time. This was evidence time. She scraped the scalpel along Haley's forearm, just above the wrist. The material felt wrong under the blade. Not plastic. Not resin. Something organic. Something that had once been alive. She sealed the sample, moved to the next sculpture. Behind them, Angela gasped. Brianna. Oh God. Brianna. They worked quickly, methodically. 12 sculptures total, 12 samples. Leo photographed everything with timestamp and GPS coordinates embedded in the metadata. They were almost done when they heard it. A car door slamming outside. Voices. "We need to go," Leo hissed. Now. They ran for the exit, keeping low. Maya clutched the sample bags against her chest. Behind them, the warehouse door began to roll open, electric motor humming. They burst into the alley, sprinted for the SUV. Leo started the engine before they'd all closed their doors. He drove without headlights until they were 3 blocks away. No one spoke for 5 minutes. Finally, Angela broke the silence. "We got them. We got the samples." Maya looked down at the vial in her hand. The flakes of material that had once been her sister's skin. "Now we find out what they really are," she said. Leo had a contact at Northwestern University's forensic laboratory. Dr. Rachel Kim, a molecular biologist who owed him a favor after he'd helped expose research fraud in her department 2 years earlier. She agreed to fast-track the analysis, no questions asked. They met her at the lab Sunday morning at 6 a.m. before other researchers arrived. Dr. Kim was in her 40s, efficient and no-nonsense. She took the 12 samples, logged them with codes instead of names. "What exactly am I looking for?" she asked. "We need to know what this material is," Leo said. "Molecular composition, whether it contains organic compounds, specifically whether it contains human DNA." Dr. Kim studied one of the samples under a magnifying glass. "This looks like polymer resin, high-end synthetic material used in medical prosthetics or special effects." "Just test it," Maya said. "Please." Dr. Kim looked at her for a long moment. "This is about the missing girls, isn't it? The ones people have been whispering about." Maya nodded. "I'll have preliminary results by tomorrow morning, full analysis by Wednesday." They left the lab as the sun was rising. Leo drove Maya home. She hadn't slept in over 30 hours, but she couldn't imagine closing her eyes. "What if the tests come back negative?" she asked. "What if it's just art material and we've risked everything for nothing?" "Then we keep looking," Leo said. "And, I'm telling you, Maya, those sculptures aren't just art. The way the material felt when we took those samples, the texture, the weight, that's not synthetic." Maya's phone buzzed. Text from Carmen. "Can't stop thinking about Isabella's face. She looked peaceful, like she was sleeping. How is that possible if she's—" Maya didn't respond. There were no words. Dr. Kim called Tuesday morning at 7:15 a.m. "You need to come in," she said. "Right now. And you need to bring someone from law enforcement." Maya's heart stopped. "What did you find?" "Not over the phone. Get here as fast as you can." Maya called Leo, Angela, Marcus, and Carmen. They all arrived at the lab within 40 minutes. Dr. Kim was waiting in her office, door closed, blinds drawn. "I've run the tests 3 times. she said without preamble. I had 2 colleagues verify the results independently. There's no mistake. She pulled up a screen showing complex molecular diagrams and data tables. The material composition is a hybrid polymer. Part synthetic resin, part organic tissue. The organic component contains intact human DNA, skin cells, hair follicles. In some samples, I found traces of blood vessels and nerve tissue, all encased in a fast-setting polymer matrix. Angela made a sound like she'd been punched in the stomach. Dr. Kim continued, her voice clinical but tight. Based on the cellular structure and preservation method, these samples came from living tissue at the time of polymer application. The victims were alive when they were encased. Oh God, Carmen whispered. I cross-referenced the DNA from sample A7 with the National Missing Persons Database. Dr. Kim looked directly at Maya. It's a match to Haley Jenkins. The room tilted. Maya grabbed the edge of the desk. The other samples? Marcus asked, his voice barely audible. I'm running them now. But given the consistency across all 12 samples, I believe they're all human remains. Doctor, Kim closed her laptop. This is evidence of multiple homicides. I'm legally obligated to report this to the police immediately. I've already called the FBI field office. Leo pulled out his phone, started recording. Dr. Kim, for the record, can you confirm that the samples we provided contain human DNA and tissue from living victims? Yes, unequivocally. And this tissue was preserved in a polymer resin consistent with materials used in sculpture and art creation? Correct. In your professional opinion, could this have been accidental contamination or post-mortem tissue incorporation? No. The preservation method requires the polymer to be applied to living tissue. The cellular structure indicates the victims were alive, possibly paralyzed or sedated during the encasement process. This was deliberate, systematic. And based on the quality of preservation, this person has been perfecting the technique for years. Maya stood up abruptly. I need air. She walked out of the office, down the hallway, out into the cold morning. She made it to a trash can before she vomited. Haley had been alive. Conscious or unconscious, Maya didn't know. But alive when that monster had turned her into art. Leo found her 10 minutes later, sitting on the curb with her head in her hands. The FBI is sending agents, he said. They'll be here within the hour. They want to talk to all of us. He killed her, Maya said. He paralyzed her and covered her in resin and watched her die and turned her into a fucking sculpture. I know. And then he put her in a window for people to admire. Leo sat down beside her. The story breaks today. I've already written it. It'll be online in an hour. National news by this afternoon. Every agency in the country will be looking for Julian Vane. Maya looked at him. Is he at the gallery? I don't know, but he won't be free for long. By noon, the story had exploded. Chicago sculptor accused of turning missing women into art. Leo's byline. Photos of the 12 missing women. Quotes from Dr. Kim about the DNA evidence. Quotes from Maya, Angela, Marcus, and Carmen about their daughters, their sisters, their years of being dismissed by police who called them paranoid. By 2 p.m., the FBI had raided the Vane Gallery, Vane's studio, and the Pilsen warehouse. They'd seized over 40 sculptures, all containing human remains. By 4 p.m., Julian Vane's face was on every news channel in the country. But the man himself was nowhere to be found. Maya sat in her apartment, watching the coverage, feeling numb. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, old friends, distant relatives, everyone wanted a statement. Everyone wanted to know how it felt to be right. It felt like drowning. Carmen texted the group chat. FBI confirmed Isabella. Sample A3. It's really her. Angela. Brianna 2. Sample A9. Marcus. Sophie. Sample A2. Maya closed her eyes. Haley. Sample A7. They had their proof. They had their answers. They had brought their daughters' names back into the light, but they didn't have justice yet. Julian Vane was still out there. The FBI set up a command center at the Vane Gallery on Wednesday morning. Maya watched from across the street as agents and windbreakers carried equipment into the building. News vans lined the block. Reporters did stand-ups in front of the gallery windows where, just days ago, Haley's sculpture had been displayed. Detective Sarah Miller found Maya at 10 a.m. She'd returned from leave early when the story broke. She looked exhausted, her face drawn, dark circles under her eyes. "Miss Jenkins," she said, "I owe you an apology." Maya didn't look at her. An apology doesn't bring her back. No, it doesn't. Miller stood beside her, both of them staring at the gallery. "I should have listened. When you first came to me 3 months ago with your concerns, I should have pushed harder. I let bureaucracy and departmental pressure convince me to close the case. I failed your sister. I failed you. You failed all of them," Maya said quietly. 40 sculptures. 40 families who were told their daughters were runaways. 40 women who died because people like you didn't want to investigate someone with money and influence. Miller absorbed that without flinching. "You're right. And I'm going to spend the rest of my career making sure this never happens again. Starting with finding Julian Vane. Any leads? His accounts have been frozen. We've got alerts on every airport, train station, and border crossing. His passport was flagged. He won't get far." "He's had 3 days," Maya said. "That's a lot of time to disappear when you're rich." "We'll find him." Miller handed Maya a business card. "The FBI wants to do a complete forensic analysis of every sculpture. They're bringing in portable X-ray equipment today. We need you to identify Haley's sculpture positively. For the record," Maya took the card. "When?" 2 hours. Agent Reeves is leading the investigation." The gallery had been transformed. The elegant displays were gone, replaced by evidence markers, documentation equipment, and portable X-ray machines. FBI Special Agent Jennifer Reeves was in her 50s. Gray hair, pulled back severely, wire-rimmed glasses. She looked like someone who'd seen too much and refused to look away. "Miss Jenkins," she said, "thank you for coming. I know this is difficult." "Which one is Haley?" Maya asked. Agent Reeves led her to the center of the gallery. The Autumn Sorrow sculpture, Haley, in the gray sweatshirt and blue jeans. Under the harsh investigative lighting, Maya could see details she'd missed before. The way Haley's fingernails had been painted light blue, her favorite color, the small scar on her right eyebrow from falling off her bike when she was 7. "Is this your sister?" Agent Reeves asked formally. Yes. Maya's voice cracked. That's Haley Jenkins. We're going to run a portable X-ray scan now. It will show us the internal structure. I need to prepare you, Miss Jenkins. What we're going to see will be difficult. Maya nodded. She'd known this moment was coming, had braced herself for it. But nothing could really prepare you to see your sister's skeleton encased in polymer. The technician positioned the X-ray machine. Agent Reeves pulled up a laptop screen where the image would display. Scanning now, the technician said. The screen flickered, then resolved into stark black and white. Maya's breath caught. Bones. Clear and undeniable. A human skull. Cervical vertebrae. The delicate architecture of a rib cage. Arms. Hands with all fingers intact. And there, around the neck bone, the silver chain with the H pendant. Haley's necklace. The one their mother had given her for her 18th birthday. Jesus Christ. Detective Miller whispered from behind them. Agent Reeves zoomed in on the skull. The polymer coating is approximately 3 to 4 millimeters thick over the skin tissue. Beneath that, we can see full skeletal structure. Dental work visible here. She pointed to the jaw. Will allow for positive identification. Maya couldn't look away. Her sister. Reduced to bones and polymer and evidence markers. How did he do it? She asked. How is this even possible? We found his equipment in the warehouse, Agent Reeves said. A specialized chamber he'd constructed, temperature and pressure controlled. Based on our reconstruction, he would sedate the victim, position them in the chamber, then flood it with a fast-setting polymer foam that hardened within 30 to 45 seconds. The victim would be paralyzed but potentially conscious when the process began. Death occurred from asphyxiation as the polymer blocked airways. Maya closed her eyes, tried not to imagine Haley's last moments. The terror, the inability to move or scream, the resin rising around her. We're documenting all 40 sculptures this way, Agent Reeves continued. Everyone contains human remains. Different victims, different time periods. The earliest one we've found dates back 7 years. 7 years, Maya repeated. He's been doing this for 7 years and nobody caught him? The victims were all vulnerable, Miller said. Young women pursuing modeling or art careers. Easy to dismiss as runaways. No suspicious circumstances at the disappearance scenes. And Vane had the perfect cover story. He was a famous artist making hyper-realistic sculptures. Of course, they looked like real people. That was his brand. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from Leo. Turn on the news. Now. She pulled up a news stream on her phone. Breaking news banner. Julian Vane apprehended at O'Hare International Airport. The video showed TSA agents and FBI surrounding a man at a departure gate. Julian Vane, early 40s. Handsome in an angular way, wearing an expensive suit. He was handcuffed, being led away. Behind him, agents were examining a large crate. We're receiving reports that Vane was attempting to board a private flight to Dubai with what he claimed was a sculpture for a private collector, the news anchor said. Sources say the crate contained what appeared to be a mannequin of a young woman. Agent Reeves was already on her phone. They got him, and he had another victim with him, a fresh one. Alive? Maya asked. We don't know yet. They're rushing the crate to the nearest hospital. If she's in the polymer already. Agent Reeves didn't finish the sentence. 2 hours later, the news confirmed it. The woman in the crate was Rebecca Stiles, 23, who'd been reported missing from a casting call 4 days earlier. She was encased in partially set polymer, unconscious but alive. Surgeons at Northwestern Memorial worked for 6 hours to carefully remove the coating without damaging her skin or causing her to go into shock. She survived, barely. With severe respiratory damage and psychological trauma that would take years to process. But she survived. And Julian Vane would never create another masterpiece again. Maya stood in the gallery, surrounded by the sculptures that had been her sister and 39 other women, and felt something shift inside her chest. Not closure, not peace, but a kind of terrible completion. They'd found Haley. They'd stopped Vane. They'd saved Rebecca Stiles. The justice system would do the rest. Julian Vane was arraigned within 48 hours. 40 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of attempted murder, multiple counts of kidnapping, false imprisonment, and abuse of a corpse. His lawyers tried to argue insanity, artistic obsession, diminished capacity. The prosecution presented the X-ray evidence. Dr. Kim's DNA analysis. Testimony from Rebecca Stiles, who described being paralyzed and aware as the polymer began to cover her face. Testimony from Maya, Angela, Marcus, Carmen, and 36 other families about the daughters, sisters, girlfriends, and friends they'd lost. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Life in prison without possibility of parole. 40 consecutive life sentences. The funerals happened over the course of 3 months. 40 young women returned to their families for proper burial. The FBI paid for everything: transportation, services, caskets. It was the least they could do, Agent Reeves said, after failing to protect these women in the first place. Haley's funeral was on a Tuesday in March. Cold, but sunny. Maya and her mother stood at the graveside, along with 50 friends and family members. The casket was closed. The polymer had been carefully removed from Haley's remains, but the process had been difficult. What was left was enough to bury, enough to say goodbye to, but not enough to see. Maybe that was a mercy. Maya's mother, Sarah Jenkins, placed a single white rose on the casket. She'd aged 10 years in the past 5 months. Her hair had gone almost completely gray. She moved like someone who'd forgotten how to be alive. "My baby," she whispered. "My beautiful baby." Maya held her mother as she cried, held her as the casket was lowered into the ground, held her as they walked back to the car, past reporters who'd been respectful enough to stay at a distance. She wanted to be a model, Sarah said in the car. That's all she wanted. To be beautiful and successful and make something of herself. And he took that dream and twisted it into a nightmare. Maya had no words. There were no words for this kind of loss. But there was action. 3 weeks after Haley's funeral, Maya received an invitation to speak at the National Coalition Against Exploitation in Creative Industries, a convention in Washington, D.C., with lawmakers, activists, family members of victims, and survivors of trafficking and exploitation in fashion, art, and entertainment industries. Maya had never spoken publicly before, had never imagined herself as an advocate or a spokesperson. She was a librarian, a researcher, someone who lived in the quiet spaces between the stacks. But Haley couldn't speak anymore, and someone had to. The convention center was massive, 2,000 people in the audience. Maya stood backstage, hands shaking, wondering what she was doing here. Leo found her 5 minutes before she was supposed to go on. "You don't have to do this," he said. "Nobody would judge you for walking away." "Yes, they would," Maya said. "I'd judge me. Then just tell them the truth. That's all anyone needs to hear." Maya walked onto the stage. The lights were blinding. She couldn't see faces, just shapes in the darkness beyond the podium. She adjusted the microphone, looked down at her notes, then pushed them aside. "My name is Maya Jenkins," she said. 5 months ago, my sister Haley disappeared after attending a casting call with a famous sculptor named Julian Vane. When I tried to report her missing, the police told me she was probably a runaway. When I found evidence that she'd been turned into a sculpture, they told me I was delusional. When I begged them to investigate, they told me to see a therapist. Her voice was steady, strong. She'd practiced this. I was told that I was crazy, that I was grieving, that I was seeing patterns that didn't exist. But I wasn't crazy. I was right. And 40 families now know that their daughters, their sisters, their friends were victims of a serial killer who spent 7 years hiding behind artistic genius and social prestige. She paused. Let that sink in. Julian Vane targeted young women who were chasing dreams in an unregulated industry. Women who trusted that an invitation from a famous artist meant opportunity, not danger. Women who went alone to private studios because they were told that's how success happens in the art world. Women who disappeared and were dismissed as flighty, irresponsible, attention-seeking runaways. Maya looked out at the audience. She could see faces now. Young women, parents, people taking notes. "I'm here to tell you 3 things. First, trust your intuition. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. If someone asks you to come alone to an unverified location, don't go. If an opportunity seems too good to be true, it probably is. Your gut is trying to protect you. Listen to it. Second, safety in numbers. Never go to a casting call, audition, or studio session alone. Bring a friend. Tell someone where you're going. Share your location. Check in regularly. The predators in this industry rely on isolation. They need you to be alone and vulnerable. Don't give them that. Third, challenge power. Julian Vane got away with murder for 7 years because people were afraid to question him. He had money, fame, connections, and lawyers. And everyone from police to journalists to industry insiders looked the other way because it was easier than challenging someone with that much power. But justice requires courage. It requires ordinary people to stand up and say this is wrong, even when everyone else is telling you to sit down and be quiet. Maya's voice cracked. She took a breath. My sister Haley wanted to be a model. She was beautiful and talented and full of dreams. She trusted the wrong person because she'd been taught that success meant impressing powerful people. She went alone to a studio because she'd been taught that's what ambitious people do. And she died because nobody, not the police, not the industry, not society, was protecting young women like her from predators like Julian Vane. She pulled out a photo of Haley, held it up so the cameras could see. True beauty is in the soul and life of a person, Maya said. It's in Haley's laugh, her dreams, her kindness, her ambition, her love for our mother and her future and all the things she wanted to be. No art is worth the cost of a human life. No career is worth the exploitation of the vulnerable. And no amount of prestige or genius justifies what Julian Vane did to my sister and 39 other women. She put the photo back down. Haley's Law passed in Illinois last month. It requires all casting calls and private auditions to be registered with the state. It mandates background checks for anyone working with aspiring models under 25. It creates penalties for industry professionals who operate without proper licensing. 47 states still have no protections at all. We need Haley's Law nationwide. We need it in every industry where young people chase dreams and predators wait for them. Maya looked directly at the camera. If you're watching this, and you're in that industry modeling, art, entertainment, fashion, please be careful. Please be smart. Please don't go alone. And if you see something wrong, say something. Even if nobody believes you at first. Even if it takes months or years to be heard. Keep fighting. Because that's how we stop the next Julian Vane. The audience was silent for 3 long seconds. Then they stood. 2,000 people on their feet, applauding. Maya saw tears on faces. Saw parents holding photos of their own missing children. Saw young women nodding, understanding, taking this message into their lives. She'd done it. She'd turned Haley's death into something that might save others. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. Backstage, her mother was waiting. Sarah pulled Maya into a fierce hug. "Haley would be so proud of you," she whispered. "I'm so proud of you." Maya let herself cry. Finally. Fully. Not the restrained tears of investigation or the numb shock of discovery, but real, deep grief that came from a place of both loss and love. Haley was gone. But her story would live on. Her name would be attached to laws that protected others. And every young woman who stayed safe because of those laws would be a tribute to Haley's stolen dreams. 6 months later, Maya received a letter from Rebecca Stiles, the woman who'd survived. "I wanted to thank you," Rebecca wrote. "The doctors say I'll make a full physical recovery. The psychological recovery will take longer. But I'm alive because you didn't stop looking for your sister. You trusted yourself when everyone told you not to. You fought when it would have been easier to give up. And because of that, Julian Vane was caught before he could finish what he started with me. You saved my life, and I'm going to spend the rest of it making sure your sister's story is never forgotten." Maya put the letter on her desk, next to a framed photo of Haley. She looked at her sister's smile, that vibrant, hopeful expression captured just weeks before she disappeared. "We did it, Haley," Maya whispered. "We stopped him, and somewhere, in whatever place existed beyond this broken world, Maya hoped her sister knew. True beauty wasn't in perfection or preservation or the kind of immortality Julian Vane had tried to create. True beauty was in the messy, temporary, fierce act of living, of loving, of fighting for what's right even when the fight seems impossible. That was Haley's legacy, and Maya would carry it forward for the rest of her life. If this story shook you, don't just scroll past it. Share it. Comment below where you're from and whether your city has protections for young models and artists. Tag someone who needs to hear this. The predators who exploit vulnerable creatives rely on silence. They rely on you thinking someone else will speak up. They rely on you doing nothing. Haley's Law passed in Illinois, But 47 states still have zero regulation on private casting calls. Zero oversight on who can call themselves an agent or talent scout. Your daughter, your sister, your friend could be next. Don't let this be just another true crime story you consume and forget. Make noise. Demand change. Because the next mannequin in a gallery window could have a face you recognize. What are you going to do about it?